the biggest thing I want you to do is when you walk away today is that you got one or two things that you are actionable, that you feel good about, that you can actually go out and apply and make your life better. So we're going to talk about, when training is not the answer, and it's going to teach you how to get better results than just training alone. So what we're going to cover today, when training is not the goal, and then a 7-step process to get higher performance. And then we're going to discuss something called logical consequences and management operating systems. So most of your projects include some kind of training in the plan. And all of this, just like with the true project discussion, companies invest heavily in projects, they invest heavily in training. And so in 2021, there was $9.2 billion in training expenditures, and that's an increase, 12%. 8.1 billion spending on outside products, 24%. It's a decrease. Then other training expenditures, 15.5 billion decrease. Travel and things like that with the current situation in the world. But the training payroll has gone up by 62%. So training is a very, very large investment, continues to be. But the goal of training is not just knowledge transfer. The goal is actually to increase effectiveness and reduce costs. Just because somebody can pass a test doesn't mean it changed their behavior in the workplace. And that's really the goal, is how do we increase effectiveness, reduce costs? So the question is training alone sufficient to affect behavioral change? Just because someone knows they're supposed to do it doesn't mean they're going to do it. I mean, it's January 12th. How many of you have made New Year's resolutions this year that you've already broken? So there's something that stands between knowing and doing. Just because we know something doesn't mean we do it. We all know that if we eat less, exercise more, we would be in better shape, and doesn't mean that's always what's happening in the world. Here's kind of a chat that I had with a manager client. He says, "Hey, I need to send Lee to time manager training." It's like, why? And well, he's coming in late. It's like, okay, I see he went to time management last year. It's like, yeah, it didn't help. He's still coming in late. And it's like, all right, is this a will or a skill? And what does that matter? It's like, does he have a watch? What is that? Yeah. Does it work? Yeah. Does he know how to tell time? If his life depended on it, could he show up on time? Of course. Then what would you like to train him on? The history of time, the theory of time, the importance of time. And it kind of goes back to training is the least confrontational. And we oftentimes throw training at non-training problems. It's like, hey, I've got an aspirin problem. Training is a solution. You don't ever have an aspirin problem. You may have a headache, and aspirin may be something that'll help it, but you don't have an aspirin problem. Just like you never have a training problem. It's a behavioral issue, and the behavior is not matching expectations. So how do you address it? First question is it a matter of will, skill, awareness, or resources? Could they do it if their life depended on it? So a person's not treating other people on the team well. A person's not meeting their deadlines. A person's not doing whatever the case may be. And then you ask the question, well, if his life depended on it, could he do it? And if the answer is yes, then training is not the answer. So always start kind of with that framework. So let's talk about behavior, all right? In the introduction, we talked about I'm a behavioral economist, applied behavioral economist. And what that does is it looks at why people act like they do and why, more so than just psychology, how do you look at it? So behavior we'll just define as activity that's motivated by a goal. And it could be a stated or unstated goal. It could be, something's aware of or not even aware of. And people act to achieve their goals based on their knowledge, skills, and abilities. Resources. If they had more time, if they had more money, they might choose a different solution. The perceived benefit, the reward versus consequences. The folks who are on this call right now, you have other things you could be doing with your time. And for the moment, you consider this the best use of your time to get value out of it. Now, some of you might be multitasking and other stuff like that. And so if that's the case, then you're considering that the multitasking and not paying attention fully to this webinar, trying to kill two birds with one stone, that's better use of your time. Again, it goes back to priorities and preferences, your personality, your mindset, your emotional state, which we've talked about many of these in previous webinars, habits, gut responses, and behaviors are sometimes in contrast with achieving their stated goals. So people often act against their own best interest. So I developed this 7-step performance improvement plan. And this is out of my book, The Workforce Engagement Equation, and available on Amazon or other fine retailers, by the way. That's my capitalistic push. So the 7-step model, all right? First step is define acceptable performance. Then you set clear expectations. You provide timely feedback. You provide adequate resources. You set performance conditions. And then step 6 is define gaps and train appropriately. And then 7, sustain with management operating systems. So you see that training isn't even until step 6 of the process, because 9 times out of 10, it's not a training problem. But that's where people spend their money and their time, because they don't necessarily take the time to think through what's actually driving the behaviors. And that's what I'm going to cover today. So first step, define acceptable performance. And you want to define and then communicate the goals. How many of you have had problems in which something they said you didn't do, but you either didn't get the message or it wasn't clear when it was due? It says, hey, I need this. They didn't say when. And then the next thing you know, you're getting the business because you didn't do it and you didn't know what the expectations were. The other day, I got something from the government in the mail, and it said due on a certain date, and it actually came in the mail 5 days after it was due. So it's a little hard for me to meet that deadline. All right, so let employees know what must be done, what, when, and the quality standards. So, you've established your goals, deliverables, and timelines. You break down those goals into roles, responsibilities, and expectations. And then you create kind of a workflow, process metrics that define and reinforce those expectations. So that's actually doing the management side of it, because a lot of times people say, well, we don't need manager, we need more leadership. I actually disagree with that. Most of the time I find in all of the organizations I work with, it's typically a failure to manage, not necessarily a failure of leadership. So success to me is about 10% leadership and 90% management. So with the setting clear expectations, the leader becomes too involved in day-to-day because they have a need to feel confident the job is being performed to their expectations. So the leader said to do something, but now the leader is down there micromanaging and every day doing all of these things.
Hi there, I hope you enjoyed that last clip. My name is Michael Maludis, and if you'd like to watch the full 60 minutes of that last webcast, while also gaining complete unlimited access to our entire library of IT learning, simply visit our subscribe page at greatpro.org/subscribe. Unlimited annual access is $199 per year, but if you use the coupon code LEARN to earn, you can drop that membership fee to just $149. That's less than $13 per month for unlimited access to over 1,000 hours of on-demand career development, covering the entire spectrum of IT management best practices, including business analysis and requirements, software development, quality and testing, risk management, process improvement, project management, and even digital transformation. But your membership doesn't just give you unlimited access to our vast learning library. You also get free access to our mobile app, as well as direct access to our network of over 300 of the world's leading IT consultants, all of whom are dedicated to putting practical knowledge at your fingertips so that you can learn more and earn more. I hope you will join me in becoming a member of the Great IT Professional and advancing your career with us. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button above so that you get notified whenever we publish new free webcasts each week of the year. Thank you for your time and best wishes for your continued success.